Dear friends, today the church celebrates the exaltation of the cross or the triumph of the cross. And on this day, the church invites us to lift high the cross, not as a burden, but as a sign of God's endless mercy and love. What once was a sign of shame and defeat has, through Christ, become the greatest sign of love and victory. Yes, the Holy Cross. It is the very key of our salvation and the path to eternal life. Let us go back to a brief history. In Roman times, the cross used to be a sign of defeat and shame. But through Christ, the cross has become a sign of salvation. This is what St. John tells us in John's Gospel, chapter 3, verse 16, that for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Yes, this cross is that proof of God's endless love. The cross used to be a sign of curse, or it was considered in Deuteronomy chapter 21 down to 22 and 23 that anyone hung on a pole was under God's curse. This was the belief of the Israelites. In fact, it was given to them that anyone who dies on the cross should be buried on that very day, so that their body does not remain on the cross till the next day, since it was believed that such a person was under God's curse. But to God be the glory. Christ took that curse upon himself and transformed the cross into a tree of life. It is no longer seen as a tree of God's curse, but a tree of life. This is what we see in Numbers chapter 21, verse 4 to 9. Moses telling the people to look up to the bronze serpent. So that was a pointer to Christ, who will be later hung on the cross. When we look up to Christ, who is lifted up on the cross, then our healing begins. Then life is found. Dear friends, Jesus tells us that if anyone wants to be a follower of mine, let him take up his cross and follow him daily. So this celebration reminds us not to only look up to the cross, but also to be able to carry our own crosses. Yes, embracing our cross that is found in trials, in sacrifice, in forgiveness, in service, in faithfulness. The cross is not just an ornament, as some of us use today. The cross is a way of life. If you look at the cross, it has two beams. The vertical beams displays the love of God and calls us to love God, while the horizontal calls us to love our neighbor. So this is a way of life. A Christian way is the way of the cross. The Christian life is that of the cross. So we must love God, we must love our neighbor. We receive love from God, we receive love from neighbor. So, dear friends, today, let us remember that our pain, our cross that we carry is real. But it does not end there. The cross looked like defeat on Good Friday, but on Easter Sunday became a victory. So the exhortation reminds us that every suffering born in faith can lead to new life. Yes, it is real. Suffering is real. Are we called to run away from it? No. Today the church reminds us that we should not always pray that God takes away the cross from us, because this is the only path to eternal life. How have you embraced your cross? As we celebrate the exaltation of the cross, as we look up to Christ for salvation, let us ask for grace to be able to carry our cross diligently and in faith, so that at the end we have eternal life. So in times of darkness, dear friends, today the church reminds us, in times of pain, in times of discouragement, that we can look up to the cross. For it is only in the cross that we can be saved. We can be saved through Christ's cross. We can be saved through our own crosses. May God bless his words in our heart.